me alone! Ah!
Akira!
What is up everyone, Mark here, welcome back to my channel, welcome if you're new. Today I'm going to be giving my personal winners and runner-ups for the past 10 years of ESC. Before we begin, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to help support the channel and help me reach my goal of 3,000 subscribers. With that said, let us begin with my winner for 2014, which is... Now, 2014 is probably the only year on this list where I fully agree with the winner and runner-up. Going back and watching 2014 again, I really think Conchita Wurst was the best act there. I mean, she had a powerful song. It really sweeps you off your feet. I love the instrumental. I love the orchestral sound of it. I also love, of course, Conchita's vocals, and I also loved the staging. This stage had kind of a diamond shape, and Conchita was able to use that to her advantage by giving us these amazing wings in the background, these kind of fiery phoenix wings. So really love how this all came together. Again, great vocals, great staging, great everything. My runner-up for this year was also, of course, the Netherlands, and they had a really good song too. It sounded pretty American, almost country style, but I thought it worked really well. I still listen to it sometimes just because it is very calming, very nice. So for me, this is my winner and my runner-up. The only time on this list that you will see my winner and runner-up matching the actual show. So with that said, let us move on to the following competition, 2015. And my winner for 2015 is... This song and I, we go way back actually quite a bit. This was one of the first Eurovision songs I heard ever, way back in 2016. Around that time, I was taking a trip to Italy, and as someone who is Italian but grew up elsewhere, I was very curious like what kind of music Italians are listening to. I went to YouTube and typed in Italian pop, and this was the first thing that came up. So that's kind of in a roundabout way how I discovered Eurovision actually, because I watched the music video and also the performance and was like, hey, this looks pretty cool. What is this all about? So this song is in part responsible for my unhealthy obsession with Eurovision, but it is also my winner for the 2015 contest. They were also the televote winners, and there was a reason for that. These guys are super charismatic. They had great staging, great everything. It had a bit of an old school feel to it, you know, very traditional, very classy, but also didn't feel outdated, and it also was just such a beautiful song. I mean, these guys have great voices, great harmonies. When I saw them again in 2022, they were incredible, and only two of them were even able to be on stage for that, and they still were amazing. So yeah, this band is great, this song is great, totally my winner for 2015, sorry Måns. My runner-up this year was Belgium, which I think honestly had the most creative staging of that year. I mean, look at this, right? We haven't gotten anything like this before 2015, and honestly not quite after. So yeah, really stood out to me. It wasn't my favorite that year, just because I do have that kind of connection with Grande Amore, but I think it was really good, really memorable, and it just really deserved their top 4 finish. So with that, let's scoot over to Stockholm for Eurovision 2016. Now, this was one of the strongest years of Eurovision by far, but my winner for this year is... Dami with Sound of Silence. This was such an amazing entry from Australia. I went back and watched it again last night and really was blown away by her vocals, her staging, her outfit, everything. I mean, she stole the show, and I'm honestly surprised that this didn't win. As a matter of fact, I was on Reddit the other night and I saw a post that said that following the old voting system, you know, the one before 2016, Dami would have won, and deservedly so. This was a phenomenal entry, a fantastic song. Yeah, I'm not usually the biggest fan of pop songs like this, but I think she gave a standout performance, had some jaw-dropping vocals, and some mesmerizing staging. I'm honestly surprised that Dami is not more famous worldwide, because she gave her all in this and really showcased all of her talents. If you had told me that she was some super famous, like record-breaking singer, I would believe you. That is just how good this performance was. So with that said, my runner-up for this year is kind of a funny choice. A lot of people might not agree with this one, but for me, that was Iceland. The song Hear Them Calling I think was grossly underrated. I think they had a great song with great staging, and I love how this song combines a lot of folk elements with more modern elements, and also gave us some really cool effects on stage. I mean, just look at this moment here. Kind of shocked that this didn't qualify, but in any case, this is my winner and runner-up for 2016, and with that, let's head on over to Kiev. This is Eurovision 2017. My winner this year was Salvador Sobral with the song I think this song totally deserved to win. I think it was beautiful. I think it was very well written. It really stood out this year just because it was so subtle and so nice. And also 2017 was not, in my opinion, the strongest year. I think there were a lot of songs that just fell short. This song, however, was very simple. It was very nice. It was very elegant. It really was in a league of its own. And for me personally, it just was easily my favorite of all of these entries. I will say a close second place was Belgium, Blanche with the song City Lights, because I love the aesthetic of that song. Kind of like Amar, Pelos, Dois, it is more subtle. style, which I personally really liked, and especially this year I thought really worked. But yeah, both of these songs were great. For me, Salvador Sobral is just above Blanche for a few reasons, and one of those is that he sings in the Portuguese language, and I love when countries send entries in their native languages. And yeah, I think this is a great song, very nice, very different, and a song that I still listen to now occasionally just because it is so nice, so calming, and simply beautiful. So with that said, let's move on to my winner for 2018, which is Cyprus. This is Eleni Ferreira with the song Fuego. Now this song was so iconic that almost every song after it that is even remotely similar has been called a copy of this entry. I think the biggest example of this was Chanel last year. Chanel of course had the song Slow-Mo, which was very fun, very fast-paced, had great choreography, great staging. When that first came out, everyone was calling it a copy of Fuego, which I thought was kind of funny, but that just goes to show that even all these years later, I mean, it's been almost 5 years, people still are talking about it. It is still relevant in the Eurovision community, and that is just a testament to how iconic this entire performance, and Eleni in particular, was. This truly was an absolute standout and would have been a great first win for Cyprus. I'm actually kind of surprised it didn't win, but you know, I feel like Toy was right place, right time. Still a very good song, but for me, Fuego just was it for me. Love the performance. I still come back to it every now and then because it is just so fun to watch. Really just one of the best things that has come out of Eurovision in my opinion, and one of my favorite entries in all of Eurovision history. My runner-up this year was actually Estonia, which I like for kind of different reasons. Whereas Fuego is very in your face, a lot more fiery, figuratively and literally, La Forza, or The Force, is a lot less so. It is opera. It is a lot more traditional in sound, it is a bit more subtle with the staging, but for me, this one stood out a lot. I love her dress, I love the way it changes colors, I love her vocals, I actually do really enjoy opera if you didn't know, and I am a big fan of Elena Nechayeva because she is one of the only artists that is kind of in this Eurovision atmosphere that specializes in opera. I love a lot of her other songs too. She had a really good one last year for Estilal 2022, which I highly suggest you check out. But yeah, both of these really great songs, really great entries, and hey, 2018 was a tough year. I had a lot of favorites, but for me, these are the two that stood out the most and are just two of the many songs this year that I really, really enjoy. So with that said, let's move on to my winner for 2019, which is This is in the running for my favorite Eurovision song of all time. It is so different, so unique, and it combines so many elements of my favorite kinds of music. I love the dichotomy of this very heavy screaming part from Matthias and also this softer, more melancholy part by Clemens. The way their voices complement each other is incredible. I thought they had great vocals too on stage, and also such great stage presence. I mean, both Clemens and Matthias are incredibly charismatic. So are the dancers too. I mean, the dancers did a great job, especially the guy who's like crawling behind Matthias. And I also loved the staging. I mean, I thought that giant globe looked really cool, and also I love how Einar was standing on top of it menacingly. Yeah, I mean, everything here worked really well for me. Thought it was a really good performance, and again, one of my favorite Eurovision songs of all time for sure. This is a song I still listen to every now and then just because it does combine so many of my favorite aspects of music, and it's also sung all in Icelandic, and I just really love the Icelandic language. I think it has a really cool sound. And I also want to say too, Hatturi is and has been one of my favorite bands just in general, and I discovered them through Eurovision, through this song, and I just cannot be thankful enough for that. I highly recommend checking out their work. They are great artists with great music, and I really hope I get to see them live someday. So with that, my runner-up for 2019 is Norway. This is Kaino with the song Spirit in the Sky, and in my opinion, one of the most catchy entries of 2019, and also just one of the catchiest entries that Norway has ever sent, which is saying something because Norway has sent a lot of catchy entries. I really fell in love with this song from first listen. I think they had a great performance. I really liked the inclusion of the native Sami language, and I also really liked Alessandra and Tom. I thought they had great vocals. Really, everything here came together so well. And as a matter of fact, when I try to get people into Eurovision, this is typically one of the first performances I show them, just because it is something that I feel like anybody can enjoy, whether or not you're a Eurovision fan. And by the way, there's a reason this song won the televote. It really has such mass appeal. It is so catchy and just one of the best that we've gotten from Norway. So with that said, let's move on to my winner for 2020, which is
Baby, I can't wait to know. What do you think about things
Now, this song was one that I discovered through Songvakeppnin, which was the Icelandic national final for that year, and while we never got to see this song on the Eurovision stage, I truly believe that if we did see it on the ESC stage, it would still be my winner because it's such a great song and has such great staging. What I mean by staging, though, really is the dance and the costumes. This song has a very simple dance that anybody can dance along to. It's very fun to do, it's very easy to do, and the costumes are so iconic. They have literal icons on them, and the song itself is really fun to listen to. It is a very catchy song, a very wholesome song, might I add. It's actually about Dadi Freyr's newborn daughter, or at the time, newborn daughter, which I thought was really sweet, and he also has his wife on stage performing with him. So yeah, everything about this was just top notch for me. Really would have loved to see it in Rotterdam. Even though we didn't get to see it, this still will go down as my favorite, and I'm sure many other people's favorite entry for 2020. So with that said, let's talk about my runner-up, which was Lithuania. This was The Roop with the song On Fire, and there's a lot to like about this song. For one thing, kind of like with Dadi Freyr, The Roop gave us a dance in their entry, which is a dance that is a bit more complex than the one that Dadi Freyr gave us, but still one that the average person can join in on. And I also love the performance that they gave in the Lithuania national final with the magnifying glasses and everything, and that staging and also their costumes on stage. Everything looked really good. Everything sounded really good too. I want to say too, the song itself I like because of the message of it. It's really about combating ageism and reminding us that no matter how old you are, no matter what you've been through, you can still turn your life around and do things that you really want to do. Really appreciated the song for all those aspects. This is still one I listen to every now and then. As a matter of fact, both of them are, both Think About Things and On Fire, and honestly, either one of them would have been great winners. So with that said, let's move on to 2021, and my winner for this year was Barbara Pravi with the song This was, of course, France's entry in 2021, which I consider to be one of the best years of Eurovision to date, and this song in particular is also, in my opinion, one of the best French entries to date. This song caught my attention way back in C'est vous qui décidez, which was the French national selection, and from first listen, I was just very intrigued with Barbara with this song. It kind of had this old school chanson sound to it, but still felt very modern and very new, and I love the way that Barbara was able to give us something that kind of called back to the past without feeling dated. The song only became even more impressive to me once I saw it in the final. I thought Barbara gave a fantastic, flawless performance with some incredible, yet still very simple, staging. Everything about this was top-notch to me, and it very quickly became one of my absolute favorites of that year. As the rest of the songs came out, there was still one song I couldn't get out of my head, and that was Voila. This song just cast a spell on me, and I just really fell in love with it. Now, I will say, my winner and runner-up for 2021 are very, very close, so I do want to talk about my runner-up, which was Måneskin with the song Zitte Buoni. I love this song almost as much as Voila, but I will say Barbara just very slightly captured my heart a little bit more than Måneskin, but Måneskin is still a great band, one of my personal favorites, and a band that I've seen live a couple times, and this performance I thought was amazing. This really was what got me into Måneskin, and I was also very happy with Måneskin's win. With that said, let's move on to 2022, last year's edition of Eurovision, and my winner for this year is
She's got a point. She's an icon. She's a legend. And she is the moment. Now, come on now.
And this is a song that is very, very unique. When I first saw it in PZE, which was the national final for Serbia, I was very intrigued by this. I wasn't sure if it was a winner or even a top 10 kind of song, but I found it very interesting. I was really curious what the message of this song was. I was also very surprised when this actually won PZE because it was a very competitive national selection that year. So at first, I was pretty skeptical about this song, but then I did my research, I looked up the lyrics, and I realized that this song had a really interesting and very important message. The song is about the Serbian healthcare system and how they don't provide healthcare or really any resources to artists, which obviously is a huge problem. I think I had also read somewhere that Conchita had a friend who had passed away because of the lack of healthcare in Serbia for people that are in the arts. So this song immediately caught my attention, but of course I wasn't sure if televoters would get the message of it, even if the jury would get the message of it, and a big part of that is because the song is sung all in Serbian, and when I first heard it, I really had no idea what it was about. out. I thought it was kind of interesting with the clapping thing and the staging and everything like that, but I wasn't sure really what the song was about until I did my research. So I was actually quite happy that they allowed her to have kind of text overlays on the screen, because I think that helped a lot of people kind of get some sort of a gist of what this was going for. And I think that also helped Conchita get a lot of points in the televote. Seeing this on the Eurovision stage was really iconic, honestly. I loved how everyone in the audience was clapping along. I also just loved the presentation of this. I thought it was translated very well onto the stage in Turin, despite the fact that the sun was broken. So thankfully, a lot of people fell in love with this song too, because the song ended up getting 4th place in the televote and a lot of televote points. I was very pleasantly surprised to see them in the top 5 and just so proud of Conchita for sending such a great entry with such a powerful message and doing such a great job in Turin. With that, my runner-up for this year was... Now, Chanel was absolutely iconic. This is one of my most streamed songs on Spotify of 2022. I mean, this song is incredible, so fast-paced, so catchy, so interesting, and also Chanel did a great job on stage. There's a reason she got 3rd place, and honestly, if you ask me, I think that if Ukraine was not in this competition, Chanel probably would have won. She was very well liked by the juries, as well as by the televoters, and Chanel would have been a great 3rd win for Spain. However, for me, I just liked Conchita a little bit more. I felt like that performance stood out a lot more to me, but still, these two are fantastic, and either of them would have been great winners in Turin. So with that said, let's move over to Liverpool for this year's edition of the contest, Eurovision 2023. And my winner for this year was... Now, I know a lot of people are shouting at me for not having Finland as my winner, but hey, Finland and Spain for me were very, very close. But let me talk about Spain a bit first and why it was my winner. So I had actually been a fan of Blanca Paloma for quite some time. I was really impressed by her performance in Benidorm 2022, and even though she wasn't my winner for Benidorm that year, I thought she was pretty underrated. And then when she came back for 2023, she brought this song called Ea Ea. And I wasn't too sure about this song, actually. I listened to it for the first time when all the Benidorm tracks came out, and I thought it was just very strange. It was a really different sounding song. It sounded kind of disjointed in some ways, like very confusing to me. So almost immediately I was like, okay, this is not really my cup of tea. Thank you, next. But kind of like with Conchita, I ended up doing my research and was really intrigued by the meaning behind the song. It's really an ode to Blanca's grandmother and also is kind of a flamenco lullaby, sort of like a grandmother would give to their granddaughter. And the lyrics are very meaningful. I'll put some on the screen here. Yeah, the lyrics, the meaning, the message of the song, all of it was very intriguing to me, but I still wasn't sure how this song, as unique as it is, would be translated onto the Benidorm stage. As we know, it exceeded all expectations for both vocals and staging. I mean, I knew Blanca was not going to disappoint us, but nothing stood out to me like this one, to be honest, at least in the national final season. I like this song for a lot of the same reasons I liked Conchita's song, and really both of these songs are just like nothing else we'd ever gotten before in Eurovision. Now, let's talk a bit about my runner-up though, because I also loved Kadia with the song Cha Cha Cha, and also thought he was bringing something very unique to the table. Kadia is a very charismatic performer. I mean, he is super fun to watch on stage, and he also is not a bad vocalist either. Everything about this was perfect, honestly. I love how he added that giant box, those dancers, the way the stage turns rainbow at the end I thought was kind of fun. But for me, I just clicked personally a bit more with Blanca Paloma's song, and you know, that's not to say that Kadia is bad or anything. I think both of these songs I would give a 10 out of 10. But for me, Ea Ea just stood out to me a bit more, clicked with me a bit more emotionally, and just really was my favorite song of this year. I've seen a lot of comments saying that it sounds like she's screaming, and that they just found the song a bit annoying. I mean, that's totally fair. The song is not everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. It was my cup of tea, and that's just my personal preference, my personal taste. I didn't really expect this song to do that well, just because it is so different, because she didn't have any subtitles on stage like Conchita did, and also because the song just sounds so unconventional, and a lot of people that don't know the meaning, I feel like would not really click with it the way that I did. So not too surprised about the result, just wish that this song got a bit more love by the fandom, because for me, there is so much about it that I really love and appreciate. So with that said, this has been all my winners and runner-ups for the past 10 years of ESC. Let me know if you agree or disagree with this list. Who are your winners or some of your runner-ups for the past 10 years? And also let me know what you might want to see next. So with that said, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you as well for 2,000 subscribers. Hopefully we can get up to 3,000 and maybe 4,000 one day. With all that said, thank you once again for everything. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time.
And she is the moment.
Dua Lipa. I don't, okay, yeah.